Cozy up with their hot chocolate, grab a buttery croissant, and let the nostalgic heartbeat slam me into my story, my fellow rumblers.
Con mi chocolate en la mano, jefe. Ready to jump back into the good old days. Dale, jefe. Let's hear it.
Memories all mine.
Now we're talking. It's a bright, sunny Saturday morning. I'm a kid again. I had just finished breakfast, and I dashed back to my room, grabbing every action figure I own. I start building little arenas out of boxes, stacking them into a mini city skyline, making tiny streets on fake rooftops, turning my room to this cramped, chaotic toy metropolis. I set my action figures up on those little buildings and I make them brawl, tossing them off ledges, crashing them into each other. Just pure imagination. Pure fun. No rules, no anger. Just me and my own living toy arena. That feeling of crafting an entire world from cardboard and plastic, making my childhood come alive, is etched into my memory forever. When Rumbleverse dropped and I booted it up for the first time back in August of 2022, it was like that entire memory woke up and stepped back into my life. As soon as the game loaded, it didn't feel like just starting a match. It felt like waking up on a Saturday, turning on a PlayStation 2, and knowing the whole day was about to be nothing but pressing play and feeling joy. It instantly made me feel like a child again. Like my childhood had come back to life in front of me. Rumbleverse felt like those early days in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s when games were just pure fun and nothing else. And then, the music hit. Boom! The very first thing that slammed to me was that opening track. That positive, hyping energy that just screams, get ready to brawl and have fun. It had that classic American cartoon slapstick beat. Humorous, wild, full of cartoony energy that almost no modern game even tries to capture anymore. The soundtrack, the sound effects when you fall, the silly audio stings, the voice lines for the announcer Skip Legerday. Everything in the sound design radiated a shared positive energy. Just listening to it made me energized to jump in, throw hands, laugh, and just have a blast. From the first time I saw it on screen, Rumbleverse felt like it was carved straight out of PlayStation 2 era. It had that classic PS2 aura, like a game that somehow slipped through time and should have launched back when those beloved titles were coming out. It gave me Ratchet and Clank trilogy vibes, with melee combat, goofy humor, and that quirky, memorable energy that sticks with you for life. It also carried the spirit of the Crash Bandicoot series, not taking itself too seriously, feeling compact and cartoony, with characters designed in a stylized, exaggerated way that proudly rejects realism. It even echoed WWE's SmackDown vs. Raw, but in a more fun, family-friendly, over-the-top cartoon form, where wrestling becomes this bright, silly spectacle instead of something heavy or serious. The Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction came rushing back into my mind every time I climbed a building or smashed into the ground in Rumbleverse. Just like in that game, I could scale walls, leap from rooftop to rooftop, and come crashing down with a Hulk smash that cracked the ground and sent shockwaves through the arena. That same feeling of raw, joyful destruction, pounding the ground, breaking the floor, tossing enemies. It all tied directly into that superhero power fantasy I loved as a kid. Marvel Ultimate Alliance also lived in that feeling, because Rumbleverse radiated superhero energy, making the city feel almost like a Marvel Universe metropolis, with you as some larger-than-life brawler moving through it. The characters themselves look like classic generic superheroes in the best way possible. Buff, exaggerated, stylized, with a mix of slim builds, overweight bodies, and that jacked character, Stryker. Stryker quickly became my favorite. A character I use all the time, with his big superhero build and presence that felt like he had stepped out of an old comic book cover. Playing as him made me feel like I was in a world where melee combat and urban parkour were the norm. Like a mashup of every superhero fist fight I'd ever watch. Rumbleverse didn't just feel like those games though. It felt like an entire marathon of Saturday morning cartoons exploded into one living world. The Tick came into mind immediately, with Stryker practically mirroring the big, goofy, heroic silhouette and the quirky animations that Rumbleverse had. He-Man and the Masters of the Universe echoed through every swing and strike, all about that pure melee combat focus. Street Sharks lived in its underground, urban street brawl vibe because Rumbleverse is literally an underground urban melee combat game that plays out like an interactive version of those classic, over-the-top cartoons. Biker Mice from Mars had its own flavor of street brawling urban combat energy that just fit perfectly with the way the fights unfolded in this city. I also felt the Incredible Hulk cartoon in every punch, since the whole point is brawling him with fists, leaping from building to building, slamming the ground, grappling opponents, and tossing them like they're weightless. Spider-Man, the animated series, flashed through my head as well. Especially those iconic moments with Captain America and Spider-Man throwing hands in classic hand-to-hand scenes. X-Men the animated series and X-Men Evolution also came to mind, full of Wolverine, Sabretooth, Beast, and the rest clashing in melee fights. Batman the anime series are right there too, because Batman relies on his fists and urban movement, just like how Rumbleverse blends melee combat with parkour across the city. Superman the animated series connected in a special way, because even with his powers, Superman still brawls in hand-to-hand style, and Rumbleverse gives you perks that feel like superpowers thrown into that melee world. And launching from the battle barge with a character holding out their fist and gliding like Superman through the sky literally sealed that connection for me. Extreme Dinosaurs added its buff, stylized, melee-heavy presence to the mix. The show's whole vibe, huge bodies, louder-than-life personalities, and constant, close-quarters brawling, feels like the exact cartoon logic that Rumbleverse runs on. Thundercats layered in its classic weapon-based melee fights, and Gargoyles brought that pure Saturday morning cartoon mood into the atmosphere. For pure goofiness and visual comedy, The Mask, the animated series, popped into my mind. Not even for the full-on combat, but for that funny, cartoony, exaggerated look that mirrors Rumbleverse's silly side. Bugs Bunny and those classic gravity-defying cartoon gags, characters looking down before they fall, hanging in midair before dropping, capture that over-exaggerated physics breaking the vibe of the game. In Rumbleverse, we defy gravity in ways that makes the fight more intense and fun, turning every brawl into something wild and unique. Conan the Adventurer also fit perfectly into this, thanks to its pure action melee combat, echoing the same fist-first philosophy. Its exaggerated heroics made every punch feel mythic, like the world itself was reacting to the impact. And at the same time, Rumbleverse looked and felt like a 3D animated movie that someone handed me a controller for. The graphics screamed Pixar and DreamWorks, stylized, vibrant, and expressive. Like I was running around inside a theatrical release instead of a typical game. I honestly haven't seen many modern games that look this much like a Pixar-style film come to life. Rumble 2021 was the clearest mirror, a brawling, wrestling-centric world where the characters fight, not just in a ring, but anywhere, free roaming through locations like the docks that felt straight out of Rumbleverse's arena. The style, the combat, the energy of Rumble felt almost identical to what I was experiencing in the game, like they share the same DNA. The Bad Guys 2022 and its sequel, The Bad Guys 2, came to mind too. With their exaggerated style, over-the-top movement, goofy tone, and punchy humor that match Rumbleverse's overall vibe. Also, the Kung Fu Panda series echo through the game's melee-focused stylization and kinetic energy. Playing Rumbleverse felt like stepping into a world where you don't just watch a 3D animated movie. You get to move through it, throw punches, and live in that world. The Incredibles and The Incredibles 2 lined up with a superhero family spirit, filled with melee clashes and larger-than-life action. And even Monsters vs. Aliens came to mind, not just for combat, but for the graphics, the goofy tone, and that heightened, exaggerated animation style that matched the way Rumbleverse looked and felt. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Mutant Mayhem, both the movie and the Saturday morning cartoon spirit behind it, brought in that old brawling team-based fistfight energy. And Cats Don't Dance had its goofy, funny scenes that echoed to the game's playful side. Puss in Boots and Puss in Boots: The Last Wish both connected through their heavy use of melee combat and stylized visuals. And on the superhero movie side, Superman Doomsday, Justice League War, and Batman Under a Red Hood all flashed into my mind because of their melee-heavy sequences. The kind of hand-to-hand superhero brawls that Rumbleverse channels in its own way. Even Big Hero 6 slipped into the mix with its blend of stylized tech, cityscapes, and action. Transformers 1 added its melee-driven robot fistfights, giant figures smashing into each other, which lined up surprisingly well with how it feels when your character brawls and wrestles in Rumbleverse. Robots 2005 seemed like a direct cousin to Rumbleverse, thanks to the style, energy, and that city that almost feels like a robot city come to life. And not only that, but even the Lego Batman movie added a blocky, stylized combat and hyperactive humor into my mental collage of Rumbleverse. Hotel Transylvania brought its cartoony, exaggerated animation and comedy aligned with the tone of Rumbleverse. Rise of the Guardians contributed to its style, combat movements, and magical brawling atmosphere. Even 2013's Epic reminded me of the game through its climatic melee weapon battles, which matched the feeling of getting different melee weapons in Rumbleverse and fighting however I wanted. And in the middle of all that, something deeper happened. Rumbleverse made me feel like I was playing with my action figures again. The stylized, compacted characters look like toys I could pick up and pose, especially against that packed, chunky city skyline where everything felt built to be jumped on, smashed into, and played with. It was like my old toy arenas had evolved into a full digital city. And then, bam! You realize you can brawl literally anywhere in the city. Skyscrapers, cranes, rooftops, cars, trees, rocks, even sewers. The entire world is your arena. You can find on top of cars, and even on that massive semi-truck, the Titan, which looks like it belongs to the Rumbleverse characters themselves, ready for chaotic vehicular mayhem. The vehicles, the compacted buildings, the stylized corners, all of it screams freedom in the most unrealistic, best possible way. I wasn't just pressing buttons. I was staging childhood battles again, hauling now with a controller in my hand. The atmosphere was completely family-friendly and unapologetically positive. Skip Legerday's commentary nailed the tone. He cracked jokes when he got KO'd, kept things light. I never felt harsh or punishing. Even losing was hilarious and fun, which meant I didn't care about winning or losing at all. I never raged. I never felt angry. Every match was just another chance to laugh, to jump back in, and to enjoy the absurdity of this wacky brawler world. The physics and movement lean into that unreality in a way that feels perfect for this kind of game. You brawl in places no real person ever should, defy gravity, and land slams that crack the ground like you're a superhero bulldozing through a toy city. It's a game that never pretends to be realistic. Instead, It celebrates being this exaggerated, goofy, joyful cartoon world. Every punch, jump, and slam sparks the same feeling I had when I was tossing action figures across my bedroom arenas. Rumbleverse is built entirely on stylization. A compact city, exaggerated characters, scattered vehicles, and a vibe that is all about pure fun. The music, the visuals, the voice lines, the sound effects, everything beams positive, hyping, joyful energy. No other modern game I played has replicated that exact combination of nostalgic Saturday morning vibes, Pixar-worthy graphics, and melee combat freedom. Every time I booted it up, Rumbleverse gave me the energy that lasted beyond the match. After playing, I would go back to my room feeling charged with happiness, motivated, and just energized with that same childhood excitement I used to have when I used to set up toy arenas on a Saturday. It reminded me what gaming used to feel like. Pure positive energy. No bitterness. Just joy. It was my number one game. The one I put countless hours into. My all-time main. These days, gaming doesn't always feel fun to me because games like Rumbleverse don't exist right now, unless I plug in an old PlayStation 2 and revisit the classics. Rumbleverse felt like the modern version of those old games and shows. A bridge between my nostalgic era and today. And then, in the middle of one more match, one more slam off a rooftop, it hits me. Wham! This wasn't just a game. It was my childhood Saturday mornings, my action figures, my PS2, my favorite 80s and 90s cartoons and animated movies, all mashed together into one impossible, beautiful thing where humor, slapstick, nostalgia, and stylized combat collide into a single, unforgettable experience. That's why no other game will ever replace Rumbleverse.
No manches, Sarge. That hit harder than a 40-foot suplex to the chest. Rumbleverse brought it all back, amigo. It felt like coming home to that wild, joyful energy we all felt at chamacos. Rumbleverse was just a love letter to that golden era. The kind of heart no other game has ever captured the same way.
Data confirms.
Sarge, ¿cuál es el próximo objetivo? What's the next vid we're rolling out?
Stand by, Gearheart. What comes next reveals the spirit behind power, the culture, the community, the courage to build something bold. My fellow Rumblers, keep your comms primed. The next adventure rises on the horizon.